Hey, my little sinners and saints. Hope everybody's doing well. Today we're going to talk about Elaine Greenberg. This is Elaine. Um, she was born on June 23rd, 1983, and she was killed on January 26, 2011. She was 27. She was a first grade teacher at Juanita Park Academy in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She was the only child born in New York City to Joshua and Sandra Greenberg. Now, the incident that followed is very confusing, and still to this day, it's not really been decided whether this was a suicide or whether it was a homicide. On January 26, 2011, in their apartment, her husband, or her fiance, sorry, she was, let me show you the picture. She was a happy first grade teacher. This was her fiance. She was very excited about getting married. And this is where they were going to get married at. And her husband had, her boyfriend, fiance had went down to exercise. They had an exercise room in their apartments. So he went down to exercise. And when he come back, the lock on the door was locked and he couldn't unlock it like this lock here. But he could use the key to open the other part, but he couldn't get in. So he sent his fiance some text that said, "Hello, open the door. What are you doing? I'm getting pissed. Hello. You better have a good excuse. What the fuck? And you have no idea." So he goes down and talks to the little manager guy. Um, this is their apartment building. And you can see that the balcony is like minute. But the manager, the security guard on shift says, "I can't open your apartments against our rules." And so he told him, you can kick in the door, but you will have to pay for it. So he goes back up and he kicks in the door. And this is the thing where he kicked in the door. You can see that somehow this come undone, but the screws are coming out of the drywall here. But he goes over to the kitchen and he finds his wife there, stabbed 20 times. Now, she was stabbed 20 times, 10 being in the back of her neck, and I think 10, 8 in the front, and maybe 12 in the back. And it was a horrific sight. This was the knife that was used. This is the crime scene, or whatever. Okay, now this is only showing the severe ones. There was little like hesitation, points where just little cuts and then deeper cuts and then deeper cuts. So it was up to 2 inches, 3 inches, then 4 inches. And the one right here would have enabled her to do anything. Plus, he found her stabbed in the heart. So she had this gash here. This is all the ones on her back. You could see it's the same knife, but it's just showing that all the places that she was stabbed at. So trigger warning, by the way, warning, 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 15,000 warnings. Um, and there was one in the heart. And when he got there, he called 911, and they were going to tell him to do CPR. But apparently, when he unzipped her shirt, he seen the knife, this big ass knife sticking out of her chest. And so they told him, you can't do CPR if she's stabbed in the heart. And the whole thing is it's improbable that it's possible she could have stabbed herself this way. It's just not probable. And there's women that do yoga, everything, that cannot get into these positions to replicate the stabbing. So they looked at him, obviously thinking that he had done it, and he was not convicted of it or anything. No one's been convicted of it because it goes back and forth from suicide to homicide to suicide, homicide. So there's so much like complications. This was a request from the Ellen case. It says, following the initial 2011 investigation carried out by the Philadelphia Police Department, our office received this case 2018 on a conflict referral from the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. We conducted our own investigation to determine a manner of death, interviewing the chief medical examiner of Philadelphia, which the one that did her body said that it was suicide, but he also changed what he said later, but not enough to do anything. Interviewing the chief medical examiner of Philadelphia and the medical examiner who performed the autopsy, meeting with the family's representatives and reviewing information that provided our attorneys, among other steps. Among the additional evidence we reviewed were web searches for methods of committing suicide, quick death, depression. This was found on her computer, but also the husband or the fiance's attorneys went in, and that the house was clear because it was a suicide. And so they got the computers, and then when the computers returned, all of a sudden they had all these searches about suicide. But done on Miss Green's personal computer this week's in the weeks before her death, and text messages between Miss Green and family members on the day of her death showing the decedent had mental distress. Our office has concluded that evidence supports suicide as the manner of death. Accordingly, we have communicated our findings to the family through their representatives and closed the case on this investigation. There was one computer that had her personal stuff on it, one computer for her school, and these are the ones that they took. And it just seems odd to me that she would have been searching those, because even though she did have some mental distress, she told her therapist that she's seen 3 times that it was her job, that there was nothing wrong with her and her husband. He was a great man. But she did want to quit her job and move back home. Now, that's one thing that stuck out to me that seemed very odd. Quitting the job, I could understand, but moving back home with her parents, that just something don't sit right. And along with the messages that he sent whenever he thought, I don't know what he thought, but when he was trying to get into the apartment, the messages that he sent. So that seemed odd to me, that she wanted to go back home with her parents. Anyway, there's never been, let me look at my notes here. He went down at 4:45 for his workout. Less than an hour later, he come back, the door was locked. He knocked, yelled, texted, and called. Neighbors actually heard this. Cops said that this wasn't a crime scene, cleared it, and the uncle came in which was a lawyer, and got items. But she still, even though she was wanting to move back home, still sent out the save the date wedding invitations, like, hey, save this date, we're going to get married then. And so there's so much conflicting stuff. And she was stabbed 20 times, 10 in the back, 10 in the stomach, and her abdomen and her chest. And still to this day, there's been no um, conclusion technically been brought to the family. There was also signs of strangulation, and this has not been brought up. So I'm not clear on what they're thinking. This was a statement from the Attorney General's office. Whilst it was heartbreaking to everyone that our investigation didn't find the resolution her family wanted in this bizarre and perplexing case, there is nothing more for our office to do if and if we find legitimate new evidence and it's brought forward. And if you want to find out more on this case, they do have a Facebook page, Justice for Ellen. Go over there, sub up if anybody has any additional information, because it had become a blizzard that day, and there wasn't no footprints on the balcony or anything. There wasn't no signs of break-in. Nothing was took or taken. It's just insane how this case played out. I mean, if you go online and look at all the stab marks, to me, I've even tried it and I've got long arms. And I don't see how she could have done this herself. But there's always craziness, so she could have. I'd like to thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, complain, rebuttal, and subscribe. I'm trying to get to 10,000. The big 10000. I think that was enough O's. But thank you again. And as always, thank you for watching and joining me on my little adventures. And I will talk to you later. Bye.